This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Hope you're doing well today. Don't know how some of you out in the western part of New York or western regions of the Capital District, if you got some snow or not. We really got nothing but sleet here yesterday, so that was our winter event. Good morning, Alan. How are you today? Not sure what part of the country Alan's in, but I hope everything's well there as we approach the Christmas season. Guys, just a couple of quick notes too. Again, thank you to all the groups that allow me to share. Facebook is kind of making it hard to share the show, man, which affects the views and affects the groups that some of it gets to. Some of you guys want it, some of you don't. I mean, most of the groups I shared to are very welcoming, and we've gained a lot of viewership from them, so I thank them for that. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. How are you today? Good to have you in. Sorry. I'm distracted by a text. What I want to mention to you is a couple things. Again, thank you to the groups for allowing all of that. Thank you to you guys who come every Sunday. Just to let you know, next Sunday, very unlikely we're going to have a show. I've got some, with it being the day after Christmas, I got some family obligations, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to get the show done and get the things done that I need to do. I may try to do something. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a quick early. If I do it, it's going to be very early in the morning probably, but we'll see. If anything, if nothing else, maybe it'll be, you'll watch it on tape delay or whatnot. I don't know. But just to let you know about Sunday, we will be on live Wednesday with our college football huddle. We will be on Friday with Are You Serious with the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez. And guys, let's make sure, as we have these debates and we'd have disagreements, let's not get too personal. Okay. Let's have fun with this. And as we have talked about in different formats, let's walk away agreeing to disagree. As you see, I do often with a lot of people. Alan's in Oklahoma, as low as 28 degrees here. Cold. Question, well, I want them to win every time as well, Alan, and they do let me down here and there. We're going to talk about the Patriot game today, too. Just to finish up, we will be on with Are You Serious on Friday, live as normal. I will be on with Dan Harris. We'll do our 2:00 show on Friday, and then Sunday's kind of up in the air. But after that, we will be back and on schedule. I'll let you know more about that Sunday deal as we go through the week. Big news coming up in January, too. Don't forget Roku. Northeast Streaming Sports will have our own Roku channel where you can also watch and I think we'll have live shows. We'll have shows that are on, tape delay, but it'll be a 24-hour schedule with all the Northeast Streaming Sports shows. So it's going to be a very interesting experiment, and I'm excited about it. So today we're going to dive into a lot of stuff. I don't have Jim Bering around, mostly because Jim, I apologize. The day just got away from me yesterday. I never did invite Jim to the show. So we'll catch up with Jim next week. A lot to talk about with the COVID situation. And there's Carlos, the Mad New Yorker now. Good morning, Carlos. How are you? Carlos is wearing me out with text last night. Where was I? We're going to talk. We'll start off with the NFL today. We'll get Jim Beringer. We'll get Jim in again next week. Oh, geez, probably 2 weeks. And we'll talk about some of the hockey situation. COVID's really hurting hockey a lot, right? We got postponements right and left, and a couple of teams are not playing. Even Carlos wants to talk Islanders. Well, we'll get Jim back in. We had to have a week off from Fireberry Trot. So, Well, we had a couple teams, obviously, that have had schedules really impacted in the NHL, probably worse than any of the leagues, even with the NFL issues, which we're going to talk about in a bit. The Predators and the Bruins are both shut down through Christmas. There's some other teams that have had some stuff. Winnipeg's coach, by the way, Maurice, resigned after 9 seasons. So some news there. We're going to jump in the NFL. We're going to talk about this COVID situation and some of the hypocrisy that I see from the NFL. And we'll certainly get into your comments about that. Talk a little about Urban Meyer and the Jags not going to pay him. We'll talk about the Patriots last night a bit. We'll look at the standings in the playoff picture. We'll talk about the Chiefs regaining control of the AFC East as well. And I did say last week, I think Billy Pulver might have called me out a little bit, that I was saying they hadn't hit their stride. I said they were back. Yeah, well, we'll talk about this whole Jonathan Taylor, and we'll talk about the game. Jonathan Taylor's a great great running back, by the way. At least quarantine, not the actual illness. No, I'm not going to talk about COVID, the illness. No, I'm going to talk about the NFL and their protocols and some of the hypocrisy that they put out there. But we'll jump into that. I want to jump into some Major League Baseball. Big news with the Mets signing Buck Showalter as their new manager, which I have been behind. I was for the Yankees hiring him. I know some of you guys have some strong opinions, pro and con, and we'll jump into that. And it may be a topic that Carlos and I tackle on Friday. We'll see how that goes. I want to talk a little bit of college football. We'll look at some of the games, a little bit of news, and also maybe kick off the college football or college basketball. Give it a little update of the season so far. Some of the surprises, some of the disappointments so far. League play will be getting underway. We'll be covering this much more as we go forward. So Buck's a lost cause. Don't forget the K. If you're gonna diss Buck, we got to give him to spell his name right, Carlos. Anyway, let's dive straight into the NFL, shall we? I want to start with the COVID situation and the postponements this week. Now, COVID being what it is, and look, nobody expected, the either of the new variants, I guess, when the protocol was put into place with the NFL back in July, but they made very harsh statements that if you were responsible for games not being played, they would not be postponed. They would be canceled, and there would be forfeits, and teams would be responsible for financial losses and whatnot. Now, I understand. And again, some of that was tied to vaccinations and unvaccinated players and whatnot. I don't know what the vaccination rate is. I heard somebody say it was approaching 90%. I'm not sure. But what does that really mean? Does it mean they've got one shot? Does it mean they got the booster? And again, I'm not making this a political comment at all. But the NFL makes it up as they go along. And my big problem here isn't even so much that they moved away from that policy. Part of it is because they talk about player safety, but I don't think it's about player safety. I mean, with 130 players, and there's some teams doing things right, by the way. I think it was 130 players at one point. Maybe I may have the number wrong. Had tested positive. But they were, the majority of them were on a few teams. So the Raiders are very much affected by this postponement to Sunday, or when are they playing? Tuesday? I'm not even sure who went to what days now. But 3 games get postponed. And the NFL positions it like it's a player safety thing. And this is the NFL looking out for their own interests. Kenny Gifford always talks about the fact that it's money, and I get that. And he's not wrong. We'll get to that in a bit. Coach Sean Payton tested positive. The Cleveland coach tested positive for a second time. He tested positive last year. So again, I'm not necessarily blaming people, because I know that there's I think there's obviously there's circumstances that maybe were not foreseen when the statement was put out in July. But I think when certain teams, and let me look at this quickly. I had a page up here that was showing some of the that's a COVID protocol thing. I had a page up here with some of the teams. Yeah, I don't know where it went now. Damn it. Where it was situated, the mass number of players. And I mean, there's 6 teams or so that have a huge number. Last night, for instance, the Colts, I think, had 1 person in protocol. The Patriots had 3. And I think some teams are doing things differently than other teams as far as protocols themselves. And this comes down to teams enforcing things, coaches enforcing things. Again, I'm not for government overreach. I don't want the government telling people what to do, but private companies can say whatever they want. They can put whatever restrictions on players that they want. Those players, regardless of what I think Carlos and I had a conversation about, we'll get to this when we get to the Mets maybe. I don't care how much these guys make. They're still employees, and they work and just like I do, and just like you guys do. I work at the pleasure of my company and my bosses. And tomorrow they could say, Keith, you're not doing the things the way we want you to, and we're going to move you on. It doesn't matter that I got 20 plus years there. They don't care. Doesn't matter if I've got an important position or even not an important position. That's the way the world works. That's the way free enterprise and capitalism works. Now, you can't fire people for, their race, their religion, their sex. But there are other reasons, especially here in New York State. It's a right to work state. If I tell you have to be vaccinated, then you have to be vaccinated. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the way it works. And the NFL did say they didn't go as far as pushing players to get vaccinated because they were afraid of that legal battle. They were okay pushing coaches and front office personnel to get vaccinated, but not the players. They didn't want to fight that fight. I don't know whether this has come back to haunt them or not. And as far as I'm not canceling and forfeiting the games, I think it's about the money involved for the NFL. And I think Carlos said here he's okay with the fines. Let's get back here. We had a couple of comments. Well, so before I go on any further, again, fines are good. I'm okay with forfeitures. This is what we said would happen. Now, and I think Rick Sherlock mentioned it to me Friday when I was kind of railing on this a little bit in a group chat. It's probably the fact that in July they did talk about it, unvaccinated people causing the issues. But, not every team is having these outbreaks. So, it's got to be something to do with the culture of what they're asking for. Certain teams got hit hard. Cleveland, Washington, the Rams, I think, were another team. Maybe I'm not thinking the Rams. Rams might just been in one of those games. I had the damn thing up earlier and I must have closed it. It's ticking me off. They had a good breakdown of where all the cases were. And I must have closed the damn thing. Oh, here we go. Let's go through this quickly. You're right. Washington, Christ, they got about 20 some guys on the list. Giants have got about 10. Minnesota's got 8. Rams, 19. Oh, they got the totals right next to it, dummy. Houston, 9. Cleveland, 20. Bears, 12. They haven't moved the Bears game. So is this about player safety or is it about money? Then you got some teams, look at Cardinals with 1, Atlanta with 1, Buffalo with 2. You can't tell me some teams are doing certain things correctly and some aren't. There's so much parity. Does it matter if they forfeit? Sure. One game could mean the difference between, the Browns making the playoffs and not. I don't think that should come into consideration. Well, and Carlos, you bring up a good point with the unions. I mean, that's why these games are getting played. So they negotiated something. The NFL said, you give us something, we'll give you something. So they're changing the way they test. And I think players, the only people being tested will be the people that are symptomatic. Because a lot of the 130 people that tested positive did not have symptoms. But the way I understand it doesn't mean you can't pass the virus along, even though you're asymptomatic. Raiders too. I think the Raiders actually had very few, Alan, because they're upset. And they were talked about taking action against the league because of this game getting moved and it affecting, they were on a plane. They were on a plane waiting to travel to Cleveland, and they said, we're going to wait an hour. And then they said, no, we're going to wait 2 days. I don't know. Where do they list Vegas now? I don't know how to find them. Are they listed as Las Vegas, or what are they listed as? Again, I don't think they have that many cases because they are ticked off. Management right down through the teams. Bring the Washington Sentinels and Shane Falco. You know what? Washington should be taking that name and making Sean Falco an honorary backup quarterback. They moved a Saturday game to Sunday and Sunday one game, right? Well, they've moved 3 games now, Alan. They've moved. Let me get back here. Let me get to the scoreboard. So here's the games that have moved. Monday is now the Raiders and Browns got moved from Saturday night, and 2 games from today got moved to Tuesday at 7. Rams and Seahawks because of the Rams outbreak, and Washington and the Eagles because of Washington's outbreak. Now, the Eagles have a gripe too, and I'm surprised. I'm sure they're upset. Do you want to see practice squad player Brown team in the playoffs in the last few games? Well, I don't know why it would look at the protocol. They're not going to be out. They're shortening one of the things that they've negotiated right now, so they don't forfeit games and players don't forfeit game checks. And obviously, some teams don't get fined a bunch of money for loss of revenue from stadiums and TV deals. They've also shortened. And I'm not going to get into all the things that they've done, but they've negotiated new terms of protocol. I thought I read one of them was masks. I didn't see anybody with masks last night. And I'm not saying that's right and they should wear them, but are they going to enforce the rules just like everywhere else? Right. There you go, Alan. Yeah. So again, my problem is more about the NFL's inconsistencies here. They tried to get tough in July because what they were trying to do is push players to get vaccinated. And again, your opinion there is your opinion there. And some people can't or won't get vaccinated. Look, I'm okay. They don't want to. In my mind, as far as general society goes, I got vaccinated. I'm safe in my mind. Good morning, Kenny. But the NFL really didn't want to put a mandate on players getting vaccinated, which they could have as a privately run organization, basically. It's not a government agency. They're basically a corporation. They could say, it'd be interesting to see if they fall under the new mandate that the government does want to put in, which I'm not for. I think companies should be able to do that if they want to, but I don't think it should be mandated. But the NFL didn't want to do that because they didn't want to get it into that stinky place where they got players suing them and blah 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 blah. But now, when push comes to shove, they back off their hard stance because they were trying to push players to get vaccinated by threatening them they would lose game checks and whatnot if they caused an outbreak or part of a team that caused a cancellation of a game. But now that it actually comes to fruition, they back off that policy. And I'm not so sure No, it's a whatever. My company's a money-run organization, Kenny. The money, you're right. It's about money, and you weren't here when I said this earlier. The NFL is not canceling or postponing these games for player safety when they said they were going to cancel them. They didn't cancel these games because the NFL's looking out for their interests, which is money. Anthony Davis out. It's very funny, and I will talk to. By the way, Kyrie's immediately in COVID protocol. Big surprise, right? The Nets caved in the minute they do. He's in COVID protocol. The Nets are they got 9 players. It hasn't affected the NBA as much, but it has affected it. The Nets have 9 players in COVID protocol right now. And it is all about the money. Never disagreed with this. Yeah. Again, whose fault's that going to be? I suppose if he's unvaccinated, he won't have any recourse. If he isn't, somebody will likely sue the NFL at some point for putting them at risk. Good morning, Bill Pulver. How are you? What's Kenny got here? I don't disagree. And it's not so much the owners either, Kenny. I'm talking about the leadership of the NFL, a.k.a. Roger Goodell. And again, he's not supposed to be looking out for the owner's interest. He's supposed to be looking out for the league's interest. Commissioners were put into place, by the way, not to be the owner's lackeys. Okay, that wasn't what it was put in for. That's what the commissioners have become in baseball and basketball and all the sports, I guess. Commissioners were supposed to be independent of the players' associations and the owners. That probably stopped with Bowie Kuhn in baseball. And Pete Rozelle in football, most likely. Goodell's the biggest flip-flopper of all. We get that. Roger Goodell's at his best when he's, talking about how air can be taken out of footballs and whatnot. So anyway, we can continue this discussion, guys, but I don't understand it. And it's likely not over. We're going to see more postponements. I mean, they say the Super Bowl's got to be played on, I forget the date now. Of course, my calendar, I upgraded to Windows 11 and my calendar doesn't come up the way it used to, simply. We got a cruise ship this day for the Super Bowl. It's supposed to be the 12th. Sorry. I believe the 13th of February, pushed back a week because we added a week. Very smart to do in the middle of a pandemic, right? Add a week to the season. But this isn't over. I mean, this wave just started. Through the holidays, it's likely to get worse. What's Kenny got? Kenny, I won't disagree with you. My personal opinion, everybody should get a shot that can. And you shouldn't be told by anybody but your doctor that you shouldn't. But again, I'm not for government mandates for these types of things. But again, private companies, private corporations, they should be able to make their own rules. And the NFL should have made this mandatory. Because whether we got vaccinated guys getting sick or not, I guarantee in these batch of 130 guys, there are unvaccinated guys in there who may or may not have started the whole spread. We don't know. Who knows what'll happen there? Go Cowboys. Dave Traver says, screw COVID. Let's go Cowboys. I was way against, I was all over the Redskins. There's another $20 in the bin. I was all over the Redskins last week, Dave, and your team played very, very good football for most of that game. They did let Washington back in. But the Cowboys should be in pretty good control of that East now, which we're going to jump to here shortly. They care about money more than players. Well, I agree. Again, that's what I've been saying here, Alan, is they keep moving the bar. They should have stuck to their guns and forfeited a couple of these games. Probably if they happened in September, they would have. But it doesn't matter if it's September or December, other than now we've got playoff races. Shouldn't treat it any differently. And don't position it as player safety when you're really just trying to protect your own interests and the money involved for players, and not getting yourself into a whole legal mess with players by making them forfeit game checks, and there'd be lawsuits right and left. We'll see. They likely will. We don't know where we're going to be in February, right? I got a cruise in February. Who knows if I'll even be going? I'm in the same boat we were last February. But Kenny got here. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you there, Kenny. It's the only way the Cowboys can win. Everybody's on the Cowboys today, except Kenny. NFL should have had 10 games in a bubble in Canada. You're talking about this week, Carlos? Or, by the way, they probably should have postponed the week. I didn't get to that point. If you are concerned about player safety, especially the way I think it was exploding day after day, maybe they would have gone to some kind of bubble. They should have had a plan in place. I'm pretty sure they assumed we were going to be well past this by now, as maybe a lot of us did. I did not think we'd be back here where we are today with mask mandates in New York State. God knows what's coming next. Did I think the virus had gone away? No. But I did not think we'd be here where we are now. And there should have been a plan B. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go the other way now, Rick. Right? I mean, again, I think the NFL is still standing to the fact that they can't have games rescheduled that will affect the Super Bowl being played on the day it's supposed to be played, which is why they didn't postpone the whole week. Well, you could have cut a week out in between the Super Bowl and the playoffs. It's not New York, man. I'm just saying, I'm making a comment about where I live and what the deal is. I'm not saying it's just New York. Sports Brothers, welcome. Sports Brothers, how are you guys today? Anyway, yes, Carlos. So I'm not saying it's just New York, believe me. Yeah, well, true, but those states are certainly having the density does cause a problem, but it's not the only situation, the only circumstance that causes the spread of this thing. You don't think Boston's heavily populated? The Patriots don't have a lot of. Cleveland's a big city. Well, I'm sorry, they got a lot. What am I talking about? Indianapolis is a big city. Vegas. Gosh, look at Vegas with the transient nature of their population. They don't have cases. I'm talking about the football teams now, by the way, not in general population. It's possible. Anything's possible right now. When you look at what all the sports have said, everything's on the table again. As far as, what they decide to do, we could see empty arenas and stadiums again, or partially filled, as Anthony said. And welcome, Anthony. I didn't say good morning to you, but good morning. Personally, they should cut out the last 3 games now, or that won't happen, Kenny. I get where you're coming from, but again, you more than anybody, as you focus as much as, and not wrongly, on the money, they're not going to just cut 3 games out of the schedule, because now you got huge TV revenue. Oh, unless you're saying you're going to make it up because everybody's going to play, but you're still going to lose games that won't be played. Yeah, I didn't see that, Alan, but I will take you at your word, and we'll get an update from Jim Beringer when we have him on again. So anyway, COVID rears its ugly head. The NFL, who knows? Let's get to the games. What do you say? By the way, we'll have Mark Mancini on at 10:25. I might talk about this a little bit more with him. Let's get to the games. So this week we've already had 2 games played. The Chiefs, who I did mention last week, I know there was some confusion there. I never said the Chiefs were still struggling. I said the Chiefs struggled early in the year and we're back on playing to form. And they showed it again Thursday night. Although the Chargers played a really tough game with them, some strange calls, strange play calls that led to a lot of non-points for the Chargers. And the Chiefs are lucky to get away in overtime with this game and take control of the AFC West, which we'll look at in a second. Hold on, we're not done here. Yeah, we can talk about him when we get to the baseball portion. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that a little bit too. Rick Scott, we'll get to that too. That's what I keep saying, right? Chargers should have won the thing, letting 3 field goals, trying to go for touchdowns. It happened last night in the Patriot game too. And my wife was like, "Why are we not trying to score a touchdown?" I think it was 20-7 at the time. And the Patriots had a bad, which we'll get into in a second, had a bad false start, which pushed them back to the 6-yard line. Well, now on 4th and 6, they kick a field goal, which they had to at that point. You can't come away with no points. They still had 9 minutes left in the game. That was the right call at that point. Game circumstances, everything, right? And I don't remember all the game circumstances because I didn't watch this entire game because I was out like a light here and woke up for the 4th quarter, which was pretty exciting football. I'm sorry, the end of the 4th quarter. But again, you have to know when to make these choices and when not to. And you've got to look ahead to what the result of that decision is going to be. So if they just kick a field goal, any one of those opportunities, they win this game in regulation. But the Chiefs played well. Chiefs have won now. Where the Chiefs won here? Hold on. Got to get to another. Let me get to another screen here. I think the Chiefs have won 7 or 8 in a row. 7 in a row. They lead that division by 2 games. They've taken over the number 1 seed. And Allen says no one wants that top seed. Well, the Patriots want it. They'd won 7 in a row. The Chiefs seem to want it. And talking about the Patriots last night, this was a disappointing loss, and a lot, the good things about last night's game, and we can talk about the Wednesday night's games as well, Thursday night's game if you want. We're going to talk about the rest of the games this week. We'll look at the standings and the playoff contenders, which everybody in the AFC, it looks like, is a playoff contender other than Jacksonville and Texans. But last night, the Patriots, the bad was Mac Jones' first half was as bad as he's played all year. Bad decisions. There were bad penalties, bad interceptions. Special teams let them down. Special teams has been a forte of this team for the entire season. Bailey and Folk have been the MVPs of this team in a lot of ways. But to me, the key play in this entire game was in the first quarter, and Mac Jones throws a ball perfectly down the sideline. Nice pass. They tell me he can't throw the ball long, but he threw this ball 40, 50 yards on the button to Jacoby Myers, and he drops the ball. Shortly thereafter, the block punt, for a touchdown. Now it's a 14-0 game, and it turned everything around. It turned the approach the Patriots were going to take around this game, and it changed everything. They adjusted well coming out of halftime. I thought they were down 17-0 at the half, if I'm right. It wasn't 20, right? I think it was 17-0. Oh, where were they? Forgetting now. My mind is really getting to be a wasteland. 17-0 at halftime. Patriots blew an opportunity to score at the end of the half. They scored at the end of the half to get the ball back. Again, Mac Jones with some bad decisions. Not seeing guys, not seeing everything going on in the field. And what you would expect out of a rookie quarterback, but I would not have expected it out of Mac Jones this point of the season. Now, to his credit, he showed some great resiliency and came back in the second half and showed he could lead them back to the point where they could have won this game. They didn't. The defense looks like it played badly because they gave up 226 yards rushing, but they gave up 270 yards rushing to the Titans 3 weeks ago and won that game by only give up 13 points. So you take away the long touchdown. Again, Jonathan Taylor's a great player. He runs for 170 yards in this game, but he only had 100 yards rushing. If you take away that long touchdown at the end of the game, which again, I'm not saying we're working in a vacuum here, but again, that play is going to happen sometimes because it's 3rd and short. The Patriots are trying to end this game or trying to get the ball back. When you stack that line with 11 guys, if you make any kind of penetration through that line, you got a very good chance of going for a touchdown. You saw it last week in the Buffalo, or 2 weeks ago in the Buffalo game with Damian Harris. And Taylor made a great move. Never gets touched going through the line there in that last touchdown, which really was the end of the game, obviously. Patriots had a slim chance at that point anyway. So, look I'm not into moral victories. I don't like losing the number 1 seed. We don't control our own destiny anymore. But we still control our own destiny in the AFC East. This team is still better than we thought it would be at this point in time. And this is the kind of game Bill Belichick is probably not. I mean, he's never going to be happy losing, but he knows now he gets a chance to go put these guys through the ringer this week a little bit. And that's what happens. And Belichick will use this. And the Patriots still, I think, are in very strong position. And I'm very likely looking ahead a little bit to Buffalo next week, which, again, I thought the off week would kind of minimize that a little bit, but it was not. Carson Wentz completed only 5 passes. Taylor carried the team last night. Don't disagree. But the Patriots defense mostly bends but doesn't break. Again, 7 points scored off of a special teams block. 7 points were basically given to them when they turned the ball over deep in Patriot territory. So you take away those teams, and the Patriots played good defense all year. They played the same defense basically they played all year. Again, they gave up 270 yards, 50 more yards rushing to the Titans 3 weeks ago, and only gave up 13 points. So this is the way the Patriots play defense. That's to take nothing away from Jonathan Taylor. This side of Derrick Henry, he's the best back in the league, and that guy is the real deal. We should get together at the Turning Stone. Oh, Rick was out gambling Friday night. No, he's played 14 games now. He's played very well. Believe me, I'm very happy with Mac Jones. And again, I'll take this away. Again, I don't want to lose games. But Mac Jones showed you again that he doesn't cower away from situations. He played as bad as he's played all year in that first half. Bad decisions right and left, even though, as I said, the turning point in the game was Jacoby Myers not catching a well-thrown ball. But Mac Jones put them in a bad situation in the first half, helped put them in a bad situation in the first half. And even in the second half with a bad interception, but he rebounds from that. And I'm confident that Mac Jones can bring this team back when they're behind. They were close to being able to do it last night. Penalties last night killed this team as well as the turnovers. Even's great. Kenny and Washington went down last week. I know. You know what? You should have. I made a wager on the team formerly known as the Redskins, David, and it didn't work out too well. So maybe we'll make a wager. Let's see who the Cowboys are playing this week. Very funny. We'll hang on. I'm trying to get Kenny. It's very funny. I don't know. We'll talk about this for a few minutes. The Jags, by the way, Jaguars are trying to get out of paying what's his name? Or I forgot his name. Urban Meyer's contract. Partly because of the situation with the co-eds and partly because of his situations of calling his coaches morons or whatever he called them. I'm the only good coach here. Kicking a kicker. I don't know. Urban Meyer just was a bad fit. Urban Meyer's not a good guy. Urban Meyer will likely fight for his money. I know he apologized to the city of Jacksonville yesterday, but it just wasn't a good fit. Jaguars are not a good organization. I said when Urban Meyer, by the way, was coming, it was obvious to me, and I've got a vlog if you want to go back and look for it last whenever. August. No, it's probably after that. Anyway, you're not going to go look for it anyway. I'll give you the gist of it. It was obvious Urban Meyer was going to be coming to the NFL, and I said he should be going to San Diego, a team ready-made to win, and Urban Meyer could not come into a situation where he was going to be losing every week because it's not in his DNA to be able to handle that. And he tried to approach this as a college team, and it's impossible to do that. So, Urban Meyer gone. Who's going to be the next head coach? I talked this morning, Jim Jeffcoat, a former Cowboy standout, who is one of the co-hosts on the Mac and Jack Sunday morning show on Northeast Streaming Sports, had asked me about the McDaniel to Jacksonville rumors. Josh McDaniel's going to be a hot commodity again this year because of what he's done with this offense and a rookie quarterback. And I don't think Jacksonville, even with Lawrence there, I don't think Jacksonville's going to be a spot he considers highly. He's going to be very picky. And I'm surprised, by the way, that, yeah, I'm a huge Patriot fan, obviously. Josh McDaniel, getting another shot is kind of interesting because, he took the Colts job, don't forget, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it is now. I lose track of time with this whole COVID thing myself. And then left a day later. I thought he'd never get offered another job. Let's see what comments you guys got here. Jones is going to be fine. It's all part of the growing pains as a rookie. Guaranteed. Agreed. I mean, I'm sitting here telling my wife in the first half last night as she was beside herself, and I'm like, look, this game was bound to happen. And the bright side is he still was able to gather himself. Where with most rookies, you watch Zach Wilson play. You watch Lawrence play. You watch Josh Fields play. Those types of things that are happening to Mac Jones early in that game, they start to snowball for the other guys. Now, Mac Jones is playing on a better team with better coaching, which leads to that. Giants and Cowboys this week. David, I don't think we're going to have a wager. Alan, by the way, David is a big Cowboy fan as well. Cowboys finished with the Giants, Washington, Cardinals, and Eagles. We're going to look at that in a second. Let me get through these. Carlos, you really think now I can see him going back to college, but not in a major conference. I don't think these guys are going to touch him. I think he's toxic. Maybe another good topic for us to talk about Friday. Text me later. I want to put to bed our topics, and maybe we need to wait because we don't know what will happen during the week. But I'm thinking we talk to Metz and Buck, and we talk about Urban Meyer going back to college maybe on Friday. We'll see. Josh needs to stay in New England. Look, I think, who knows? I don't know what Josh McDaniel's been promised there. Nobody knows. The rumors always were he came back because he was promised a job. But, Belichick's not stepping away in the next 3 years, assuming he stays healthy. No ownership understands that what he'll want to do. Probably agreed. I don't know that it'll work out. It didn't work out for him once, but look, just because Josh McDaniel flamed out badly in Denver doesn't mean he won't succeed the next time. Don't forget what happened to Bill Belichick. Very few bad tenures as he had in the NFL where he started in the NFL with Cleveland. This is game this is game 1 of debacle. There's more to come. You just won't give up, Carlos. Oh, Kenny's tough. Got the Cowboys going 2-2. I'll let you and Dave and Alan fight that out in the comments a little bit. Washington's already got a coach. I think. They hired, they have a coach. Who the heck they hire? Hold on a second. Always trying to grab the right mouse. I know they hired a coach. Yeah, Caitlin DeBoer from Fresno State. So they got a coach. Meyer's thinking about coaching a women's flag football team. That may not go so well. The HR department will likely be all over him. Alan's got the Cowboys going 3-1. Let's jump into that topic a little bit. Let's look at the NFL. Oh, I don't care about that anymore. Here we go. Let's look at since we're talking about the NFC, I'll jump to the NFC first, and we'll come back to the AFC. Here's how things stand right now. The number 1 seed is everybody's favorite team, or Kenny's favorite team, nobody's favorite quarterback. The Green Bay Packers are at 10-3. They would have the top seed as things stand today. The Buccaneers would be second at 10-3. Starting to play better football again late in the year, just like they did last year. How great would a Tampa Bay New England Super Bowl be, man? It would be awesome. Myers should go back into retirement. Dave, I think he will be in retirement and stay in retirement. We'll talk more about that on a future show, maybe on our You Serious show on Friday. The Cardinals are the number 3 seed. They'd had the number 1 seed for most of the season. They've fallen back to 3. The Cowboys right now have got the 4th seed, but they still have a number 1 seed in front of them if somebody, 3 teams would have to stumble, but it's within their range. The Rams, so everybody, including Mark Mancini, wants to get all over, and I'm not a huge fan. They're 9-4. They've righted the ship a bit. I don't think they're going to be a big contender in the playoffs because I'm not a big Matthew Stafford fan. He's a really good quarterback, but he's not a playoff tested. I don't think he's got the makeup to win a Super Bowl. Could get him there. I just don't think he's going to get him over the top. San Francisco right now is in the 6th spot at 7-6, and Washington is in at 6-7. Again, an under 500 team in the playoffs. This time a wild card. But you got all kinds of teams. This is going to be a crazy 4 weeks because you've also got 4 other teams at 6-7. The Vikings 6-7, the Eagles 6-7, the Falcons, and the Saints all at 6-7. So these last 2 spots that right now are held by San Francisco and the 49ers are all up for grabs. Wait till we get to the AFC. It's even a bigger mess. Bucs will likely get it because they have the easiest schedule remaining. Yes, on paper. Packs, I have a hard time rooting for the Packers because of Aaron Rodgers, obviously. And Aaron Rodgers, look at the Packers to me were the best team last year. And they lost. You can blame it on their head coach all you want for kicking a field goal at the end of the game. But Aaron Rodgers could have walked into the end zone on third down and didn't because he wanted to look for a more flashy play throwing the ball to the end zone when he could have walked into the end zone. Myers and Gruden for president. What ticket are they going to run on, Kenny? The the politically incorrect party? Oh, God. Hold on a minute. Stafford is not playoff tested. What about all those great Detroit teams? I probably slept through those seasons, Kenny. I just don't remember. He did have some good teams, by the way. He had some good weapons. He had one of the greatest receivers of all time. And the team did make the playoffs several times with Matthew Stafford there. And again, I'm not saying he had great teams in Detroit. But I'm saying Matthew Stafford doesn't have the makeup of some of these guys he doesn't have the makeup of or the talent of Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. And I know he has been surrounded by the same talent, but you watch him play with this team, this Rams team, which is much better than any of those Detroit teams, and he's very up and down. And again, I compare him with a guy that I really loved in Drew Bledsoe. But Drew Bledsoe is just a notch below elite quarterback. He was a very good quarterback. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. And Drew, like Matthew Stafford, just could not quite get over the hump. Packers will fold. I thought you were a Packers fan, Kenny. I thought he had 2 losses. Whatever. My statement will stand because, again, you watch him play. He's a great quarterback, puts up great numbers, has put up great numbers through his career. Again, probably because he's playing behind most of the time. You got to look at when these guys accumulate these stats as well. Oh, gosh, maybe we can have that day. We got a lot of things now we can talk about. Stafford is not, he's a great player. He's a tough kid. Tough man. He's not a kid anymore, that's for sure. He's been around a while. But I can compare him very favorably with Drew Bledsoe, who never was able to get the Patriots over the top. Oh, now you're confusing me, Carlos. He's just a gamer, not a game changer. All right, I guess I get what you're saying there. Kenny is realistic that he's a Pack. Well, that's good. I'm realistic as well, so I get it. Nobody bashed their team more than I did with the Patriots last year, and the Yankees, I will continue to bash. The black hole of Green Bay, that division is so bad. No, there is that. Reports, Bears and Texans heavily mulling head coach search and firing Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy should have been fired freaking last year. And David Culley White would take that job. He must have really been desperate for a head job. For them to fire their head coach after 1 year with what they gave him to work with would show you how dysfunctional that Texas organization is. The fact that Matt Nagy didn't get fired before this year, when he screwed up one guy who potentially could have been a franchise a quarterback, because I still think Mitchell Trubisky will be a good player in this league. And Matt Nagy ruined him in Chicago. And then they give him the keys to the next guy they want to be their franchise quarterback. These two organizations are out of their minds. Nagy should have been fired, and David Culley shouldn't be fired for. It's a miracle that team has won 2 games. Stafford has great courage and came from a top college program. I know you like Stafford. I'm not saying anything about his courage, his toughness. That guy is tough. If I remember, Detroit had tried to get him to stop sliding head first and running the ball so much and putting himself at risk. And he was a great college player, and he's a good NFL player. but he's just not an elite quarterback, and I don't think he's good enough to get that team over the top. AFC East should have a crap bowl of the NFC North. The AFC East has actually gotten better. And let's not compare those two divisions. There's 3 good football teams in the East. Dolphins are playing really good football. Can we take a minute to say how much the NFC East has improved from god-awful last year? Yeah, I'll give you. I really thought, Alan, that 9 wins would win this division. And that's obviously not going to happen because Washington and the Eagles, while they're out of the division race, I would say 3 games behind the Cowboys. Look, the Cowboys always, to me, were the class of this division. It was just a matter of whether they put it together and play as a team. I liked the Washington the team formerly known as the Redskins going into this, winning that division because of their defense, which didn't play for the first half of the year. And I thought Henneke would be the quarterback without Fitzpatrick getting hurt. Your partner on Friday is showing as an. Let's not get personal, guys. You can disagree. I disagree with a lot of what Carlos says. Again, I don't think he's wrong, and he's definitely wrong in his comments. I mean, look as I've said 100 times, I'll debate, and if I'm passionate about something, my opinion is my opinion. And I'm not always right, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. But I'll debate everybody about anything, and vehemently, and sometimes very passionately, and it's not in anger. Maybe sometimes it might come across in anger, but it never is in anger. And then when we're done, we're done. You should have agreed with me, but you didn't. Carlos is passionate about what he believes, just like I am. He's misguided, but I don't think he doesn't know anything about the games. Just to clear that up. The game against the Browns, where Stafford tore his shoulder and still threw. Look at it again. I'm not really saying anything about his toughness. I think I love Matthew Stafford's game. But the Patriots, the Patriots kicked the tires on Matthew Stafford. And the Patriots decided they'd be better off drafting a rookie than paying Matthew Stafford and paying the price it would take to get him. Alan is... I'm not sure where that one came from. Gets a little confusing for me sometimes, so I'm not sure where Kenny's at on one of Alan's comments. Kenneth and I seem inept to you, but I haven't missed on much. Well, Carlos, I won't call you inept. I never would. And I do want guys to be, let's be, I was going to say professional, but we're not professionals. Be a little more diplomatic. We can agree to disagree many, many times. I wouldn't say you haven't missed on much, because you've missed on at least 2 things that you and I have been butting heads on early in the year. There's one thing I'm starting to feel I may be wrong on. But you told me that Cam Newton would be the starting quarterback and play more games and more snaps than Mac Jones, and then you told me the Patriots wouldn't win 9 games or sniff the playoffs. I'm paraphrasing. You might start to look like you're right on Thibodeau. There you go. So fair enough. Fair enough. That's all I ever ask. Guys, I want to have really strong debate on this show like we do. Today's show, Friday's show. Just don't get personal and don't take things personal. So, again, I feel bad sometimes when I put up comments where Carlos was getting bashed the other day. So, it doesn't mean anything. I don't think Carlos takes it personally anyway, I hope. I've told him that myself in the past. When Carlos first started coming on the show, I was, I would sometimes get very passionate about the things I was disagreeing with him on. and I made sure I let them know in a personal message one day. I never take it personally. I don't look at this is sports. Even in life, people have opinions on things. I have very strong opinions about everything. I have to keep them to myself sometimes, depending on the crowd I'm in. But this is a place you should be able to express it, whatever opinion you want. And I'm going to tell you sometimes you're crazy. That's just my opinion. A person, Keith, wants a Patriots-Cowboy rematch because the man still thinks... I think that's been the game of the year as well. I won't disagree with that comment, Alan. And I would not mind seeing... I wouldn't mind seeing a Patriots-anybody Super Bowl. A Patriot-Cowboy rematch would be fun for me, but you can understand why a Patriot-Tampa Bay Super Bowl would be really interesting for me to watch. David Traver, Merry Christmas. You have a great day. We will be here Friday morning if you are available. Who knows what we'll be debating. We've already come up with a couple of possible topics for myself and Carlos to dive into. Like being married, don't take it personally. It's worse there. You said Mac will have a bad... You know what? Come on, Carlos. Everybody has a bad game. Who's the best quarterback in the NFL? Tom Brady. He's had a bad game this year or two. It matters where you have them. Come on. Don't say I'm going to have a bad game. You need to say he's going to have a bad year, not a bad game. Everybody has a bad game. I could say Zach Wilson's going to have a good game somewhere. Rick's trying to be. Look, you can get your opinions out there, Rick. I'm not trying to neuter anybody. I just want to make sure we all treat each other with the respect we deserve. That's all. I know the thought makes me gag. It would be a good send-off if Brady retired by beating his old team in the Super Bowl. I would not be rooting for that. I haven't even gotten to the AFC yet. Good grief. Once again, a silly statement. They're all human. Right. Again, I got to agree with you there, Kenny. I mean, Carlos. I know you're down on the New York teams, but like I said, Zach Wilson's liable to have a good game. Daniel Jones liable to have a good game. Jake Fromm could go out and have a good game the next few weeks, which I know you don't want because you want them to tank, but I don't know. Let's get to the AFC so we can get the picks out of the way and move on to other topics here. NFL, a lot of news to talk about, though. That's why I'm sticking with it. If Drew's here, Drew might not be here because I did want to talk about the Mets, and I know Carlos has got some opinions there. So, look here, real quickly, we'll go through the AFC. The Chiefs now have regained the number 1 seed. The Patriots fall to 3. The Titans move up to 2. The 4th is Baltimore. 5th is now the Colts. Big change there. The Chargers are in at 8 and 6. The Bills are the 7th seed at 7 and 6. But you have got now here 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess the same number. I thought there was more, as the NFC. So right now, for those last, at least the last spot, maybe the last 3 spots, you've got about 7 teams in the hunt. So the Browns, the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Steelers are the other teams in the hunt. Well, you're not right yet. You're getting more right, but you're not right yet. A ton more. I don't know. You're killing me. 1 game. Well, make me a list. We'll debate that on Friday. 1 game, the AFC side. I'm intrigued with the Broncos and the Bengals. We're going to jump into the games here real quick. Keep watching, have open mind, and enjoy my craziness. I do enjoy your craziness. That's what makes it go. That's why I wanted to do that format. So guys have to understand, we're going to try to be on the opposite sides of things in this, in that format. So anyway, let's jump into real quick. I'll do my picks. I'll give you a quick recap of is the right thing? That's not even the right thing. Let's see. TGI Sports Talk. Our leaders so far, Mark's lead is dropping. He's only 7 games ahead of Ryan. Ryan, if you're making a run here, and I don't know if you see the show or not, you better be a friend of the show and follow the show. I'd hate to see you not get that gift certificate or that gift card by not following the show. I haven't checked yet. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, still only 8 games behind. Mark Robertshaw is falling like a rock. He's now 14 games out. Carlos making a little run here. Had 10 wins last week. 11 wins last week. Gets to 103, 15 games behind. No, very unlikely we're going to make that up. I don't think anybody's making up even the 7 games, to be honest with you. And then we got some others in Mike Sazor and Kenny. Kenny, I think, stopped picking because ESPN does not like his computer. Drew, who had only 7 last week, and Mickey, who did have 9 last week and has 22 winners so far this week. And by the way, TGI Sports Talk has no winners yet this week. Let's get to my picks for this week, and then we'll move on to a couple other topics before Mark Mancini joins us. I think he'll be on the phone today, so you'll have to look at the Here's Johnny picture. So, of course, Keith picked the Chiefs. Keith picked the Chargers, and Keith picked the Patriots. So we got those 2 games out of the way. I've got the Bills minus 10.5 over the Panthers. The Panthers are a mess. Cam Newton, by the way, Carlos, cannot play in this league anymore. If you need any more proof, just go back and look at some of the game film of him with the Panthers. That team's in disarray, and he's not going to help it at all. I like the Bills are in desperation mode. I think they will blow that team out of the building today, so I'll take them minus 10.5. The Dolphins playing really, really, really good football. 8.5 point spread is a lot, even over the Jets, but the Jets just aren't there yet. They're playing better football the last, month or so in spurts. They can't put entire games together. I like the Dolphins to win this probably by 10 points or a little bit better, so they'll cover the 8.5 point spread. I like the Cardinals. I'm not a big fan of laying this kind of number on the road. But the Lions are just pathetic, and I'm going to lay the 13.5 with the Cardinals. It's just a tough game. I don't know that I can get all my. I don't think I can wager on as many as I've got left to wager this week. I've got the Cowboys minus 10.5 at the Giants. If the Giants are playing Mike Glennon, they got no shot. They might as well play Jake Fromm. Just see if they got something. Carlos, I know, wants the team to tank, but players don't want to tank. Fans don't want to tank. Some fans do. Carlos isn't the only guy who would root for tanking, and I'm just not for it ever. I like the Titans over the Steelers, which means this Big Ben will probably come up big. But I just think the Titans are finding ways to win without their best player, Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry may be back for the playoffs, guys, so don't sleep on the Titans. Houston, I'm taking over the woeful Texans. I'll take the 2.5 on the road there. I love the Bengals in Denver today. They're getting 1.5. I will take them. I'm actually going to switch my pick here. I was all over the San Francisco 49ers. I have changed my mind in the last 24 hours, and I'm taking the 8.5 and the Atlanta Falcons in this game, which puts the Falcons squarely in the playoff hunt. I'm going to take the Ravens at home plus 4.5 against Kenny's Green Bay Packers. Again, I'm just not a fan of a good team getting points at home. Good team, I said. Don't forget when you think about this, some of the teams I've already taken road favorites. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's had his trouble with the Saints in his time in Tampa Bay, but I think that ends today. 10.5. I will lay that. I'm going to take the Raiders right now. I could change this. I don't know. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 6.5 against the Browns just because I don't even know who's playing for the Browns. And I'm going to take the Bears. Sorry, Rick. Taking 3.5 at home against the Vikings. And I will also take the Washington team formerly known as the Redskins plus 4.5 over the Eagles. And I guess I'm not done. I got the Rams -6.5 over the Seattle Seahawks. So let's see what you guys got. Any comments on what we got there? Where am I? Oh, here we go. Plus, Judge should go. Yep. Carlos, one other thing we're going to dive into is what happened to you where you think all of these coaches should be fired? Even successful ones. Not that Judge is successful, but I don't think he'll get fired. I hope the Cowboys make the playoffs and Dak can hold on to the snap just like the last great. Lock, Eagles. Ooh. You'll get my locks and my surprises soon. Saints upsetting the Bucks. Don't be surprised if the Colts make a late run. Make sure you get into our pool next year, Alan. You'll have some fun and find ways. If the Colts make a late run to find, the Colts are a good football team. Colts are a really good football team. And they could catch the Titans, depending on what happens there. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill fan, but again, Carson Wentz is no better. He's had a bounce back year this year, but he showed you last night they're not going to put the game in his hands. It's a very good point when you're well, it's not just quarterbacks though. There are some good defensive guys. Probably the number one pick is likely going to be a defensive player, either Hutchinson or Henderson from Alabama, maybe the guy from Oregon. His name is Thibodeau, I think, from Oregon. He could be up there in the top 5. There's some good defensive choices there. Tanking does happen in football. I don't know if tanking happens in football. Tanking happens in baseball. Tanking happens in basketball. I'm sure there's attempts to tank in every sport. Most players are playing to win. There's also some interesting, and maybe we'll jump into this on another show, but there's some interesting proposals out there in a couple leagues. I think it was Major League Baseball, to avoid tanking, where the first picks would go to the first, whatever, 5 or 8 teams that missed the playoffs. So they wouldn't go to the worst teams. They go to the teams that just missed. The Vikings do need that game. I agree, but I just think I'm not a big Mike Zimmer fan, and I just don't like them on the road in this game, give them points. MLS is a new school of acting. I got to start watching the MLS, I guess. I don't know. I do watch Ted Lasso. I don't know if that gives me any cred with the soccer people out there. All right, let me change topics here for a minute real quick. We're running out of time. Is there anything I want? We're not running out of time, but we're running out of time before Mark gets here. I did want to talk a little bit of college football, if anybody cares. I did bet 3 games yesterday. Well, I bet 4. I bet the Patriots last night, so I'm a loser there. But I did bet the Fresno State and I can't remember who the hell they played now. Hold on a second. Let me get up here. I'm not going to get into college basketball too much today, I don't think. Let's see. Where are my scores? They don't really matter, but we're going to give them just because, some guys are in pools and whatnot. Middle Tennessee beats Toledo 31-24 in something called the Bahama Bowl. Everybody was probably tuned into that at 12 o'clock, I'm sure. Nobody in the stands, as Rick said earlier, more guys on the sidelines than in the stands. That really tells you all you really need to know. Did my picks. That's Major League Baseball. That's NBA. I don't know what I got here. All right, I don't have a banner for this, so we're not going to put one up. Oh, God. Anyway. Oh, UAB and BYU. I bet BYU yesterday. They lose the game 31-28. These games all depend on who really cares to be there and who opts out, right? You got to care to be there. And I tell you see the game. And I'm not a proponent of all these bowl games, but then you see a team like UAB win. They've had a nice win 9 games, I think, for the first time in their history. And after the game, you can see the kids are really happy. Louisiana rolls over Marshall 36-21. Western Kentucky just destroys Appalachian State 59-38. Nice win for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Fresno State and UTEP, I bet the game over. Just snuck over. It was a 52 was the over. They went and scored 55. Liberty finishes off a nice season. Malik Lewis, first round NFL draft pick, guaranteed. They destroy Eastern Michigan 56-20. And Utah State, I bet last night, plus 7.5. And they win the game outright against Oregon State, 24-13. What else we got to talk about in college? I was going to get into the transfer portal. There's all kinds of movement with quarterback Shane Rattler, Bo Nix, some other guys. I think we'll get into it on the college football huddle on Wednesday night. So with that, let me change my banner because I'm going to be moving the MLB here. I really need a producer for this show. All right, let's see what else you guys got. You guys got anything else going here? Kenny likes soccer. BYU lost. I'm not a big Jalen Hurts fan. I love Devontae Smith, and I think he'll be a great generational player if he gets a quarterback. Carl's okay. Deanne was worried. Right. So Deanne, I don't know what the score of that game was because I'm only looking at FBS 1, but Deanne was worried about the way he looked on that stroller. I don't know what's going on. College football, well, not a bad point there. Kenny, tanking is a way for losers to make excuses. Not a big fan of tanking ever. Because you're rolling the dice, especially if you're a team. If you're a team bad year after year and you tank and you make awful choices year after year, what's the point? You're better off waiting until the middle round. You might do better because the pressure's not on you. Let's jump to Major League Baseball. The big news, and before I get into that, I want to say rest in peace to Roland Hemmon. Hemmon, I'll say his name wrong. He was a GM. Club presidents for many, many teams throughout the years. I remember him with the White Sox. He was with the Angels for a while. Many, many other teams. I was going to try to bring up his story a little bit. Orioles. He was a big member of the Orioles organization. He had a 70-year career in baseball. Well respected within the game. And then he passed away at the age of 92 here this week. So rest in peace, Roland Hemmon. Job well done. Great contributor to the game of baseball. And we're happy to see that. Let me go back here a little bit. Alan says, currently Malik Willis is slated to be the mid-late first round. I could see him jumping past Corral, to be honest with you. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday night for sure. Baseball's big news is it's winter and no games. No, big news in baseball is Buck Showalter is back in baseball, managing in New York with the wrong team. The Yankees should have brought Buck in. I was a proponent for bringing Buck in at midseason of firing Aaron Boone then. I would have fired Aaron Boone at the end of the season, but he, like a weasel, allowed the team to fire his coaches, his hand-picked coaches, including his best friend in baseball, to keep his job, which left Buck available for the Mets, who are built to win right now. They could not go, and again, I know that there's people out here who have axes to grind with Buck on different levels. We may or may not get into this on the Friday Are You Serious show. It all depends on Carlos and what he wants to do there. But Buck is the best choice for this team. You could not hire a first-year manager like Espada or the Tampa Bay guy whose name's escaping me. They'll both be major league managers and maybe very good major league managers at some point. But after Mickey Callaway and Luis Rojas, you could not go the way of a first-time manager again when this team is built to win today. Cohen's gone all in, including $43 million this year and guaranteed for the next 3 years to Max Scherzer at 38 years old. They want to win now. And Buck is the kind of guy who will instill focus and discipline and change the culture of that team and has not been there. Again, I know Carlos is going to disagree with me even about the culture part. And he's going to disagree with me that you know what? Buck, I know all the stories. Buck is the smartest guy in baseball never to win a World Series. Buck has turned around the Yankees way under 500 when they got him. In 2 years, they were over 500 and quite possibly would have gone to the World Series in 94 without a strike. He went to Arizona and took an expansion team to 100 wins his second year. He went to the Texas Rangers and had to deal with that idiot Carlos. That idiot Carlos. Sorry, Carlos. I'm reading your comment. That idiot Alex Rodriguez, and took that team from like 60 wins to 89 wins the second year. He did the same with the Orioles, had a team that hadn't been relevant forever, had them in the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. By the end, it was ugly. I get it. Bucks times tend to end ugly. Buck won't win with the Mets. The Mets don't need to be turned around. Carlos, come on. What was the record last year? You got guys fighting in a runway and lying about it that, you know, there was a giant rat or a raccoon when they were having a fight. Why hide that stuff? And they won't do it. They're going to go out and they're going to approach every game like professionals. That's what Buck brings to the team. You're in win now mode. You want to hand that keys over to a first-time manager? You'll be right where you were this year. Rojas lost that team. Mets need a guy with experience or a good team, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot. Agreed. They do have some talent there. They signed some talented guys. Cohen's all in. Players need to play. Don't disagree. Buck gets players to play, though. You also have players booing fans. Yeah, right. I don't think that's going to happen under Buck. Players were hurt in their second team. No, their depth was terrible. They were a terrible defensive team, just like most teams in Major League Baseball. They play terrible defense and they play terrible fundamental baseball, and that will change. Injuries are an excuse. Every team has injuries. Every team. And if healthy, they're going to have the best two pitchers in baseball if they're healthy. Now it comes down to that. They got to be healthy. You know, I agree. Look at where's Carlos's last statement. Players are hurt. Players get hurt, and you got to have guys step up. Next man up. That's it. Buck manages and does situational plays. Well, which is what is needed. I didn't say he motivated necessarily. It's a difference between motivating and getting the most out of somebody. It isn't necessarily about motivation. It's about getting them focused. It's about getting them playing fundamental baseball. He's a great in-game manager. So you have faults? Absolutely. And again, I say, so what? That division was there for their taking last year, and they didn't take it, and then they quit on their manager. They quit. Now, again, I may be very, very wrong. I've been a big Buck proponent for a long, long time. But there's a reason Buck has had chances year after year. There's a reason he's lost his jobs, too. I get it. Look at a very little known story was when Buck got fired by the Yankees and Joe Torre was hired. Less than a month later, George Steinbrenner was trying to hire Buck back to manage the team. There's a reason for that. Again, well, Jesus, that's an indictment on the coaching staff too, Carlos, losing that number of one-run games. You're telling me it's bad luck. We talk a lot about luck. You make your own luck in life. Luck is a residue of good design, to use a cliche that I love. You can manufacture good luck by having a plan. You can also encourage bad luck by having none. Bucks no 0 World Series. I give it to you. How many World Series have Mets won in total? How many times have Mets been in the playoffs the last 15 years? Twice? Buck gets teams to the playoffs. Buck gets underachieving teams to the playoffs. Let's see what he does with a team that's underachieving here. Well, he gets teams with less talent than this to the playoffs. This team's a lot like the team he had in the second year in Arizona, where they brought in a bunch of free agents and they won 100 games. Did they win the World Series? Nope. In fact, I think the Mets beat them that year in the playoffs. I'd have to look it up. How about how many World Series did Joe Torre win before he got to the Yankees? Right? How many World Series did Dusty Baker won? Is Dusty Baker not a really good manager? He is. It's all about circumstances matching up, right? Here comes our boy, Mark Mancini. We'll continue this conversation with him here. I agree the pitching staff let them down. Good morning, Mark Mancini. Uh-oh. Come, I can't hear you. You there, Mark?
Sure.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How about now?
Yep.
I'm not hearing you. Guys, are you hearing Mark? Hang on. Keep going here. May have to leave you on the speaker. Something. Every once in a while, we get a little problem with the...
No, it's called technology.
Oh, technology. Just what I need. Turn that off. Let's turn it back on. See if I get you in my head. That's what I need is Mark Mancini in my head.
Hello.
How about now? Say hello.
Hello.
God darn it. Hold on. We're going to try one more thing. And we're going to pair this again and hope for the best. Roadcaster. Say hello now.
Hello.
God damn it. Oh, I know what's going on here. Dial talk.
Hello.
Well, that didn't work either. God darn it. How about now?
Hello.
Damn it. All right, I'm done with the hellos. Let's put you on speaker and hope we can hear you that way. All right, guys, somebody give me a thumbs up. How about I can hear Mark? Go ahead and say good morning, Mark. What are you up to today?
Well, I'm on the biggest show that's sweeping the country here across the airwaves, man. It's the grind on Sundays.
Yeah, I guess they're going to hear you. Here's Johnny. I don't know why. You got to get your picture up here, too. So listen, here's something for you to talk about as we get started. I just been talking about the hiring of Buck Showalter by the Mets. I think it's a stroke of genius. Some of our listeners, our watchers, our viewers do not think that. What are your thoughts as I get your picture up here? What are your thoughts on the hiring of Buck Showalter by the New York Mets?
Well, I'll tell you, I was in Pittsburgh in 1996 for a weekend, and I got myself a shirt. The Mets were in town, And right now I'm wearing the shirt. It says Muck the Fets. So I'll tell you what the Mets have done this year, especially during the winter, they have opened up the wallets, and they've brought a lot of big names in there with Scherzer, and now I love this manager, Buck Showalter. You know, I know he's been around in more airports than some stewardesses have, but this guy is going to turn this team around.
I agree. I mean, I have said that, you know, this team needs focus. They need a culture change, and Buck's the guy to bring it to them. The comments are, you know, he's never won a World Series, but there's a lot of guys who are really good managers that never won World Series. And there's a lot of reasons those things happen. Buck is not, you know, not always left situations in a, you know, in a good place with his former employers. But I think at this point, Buck knows this is his last chance. And I think this is a perfect matchup of a team needing direction and a manager who wants to finish off his legacy.
Well, you know, when I look at a guy like Buck Showalter, you know, he's not going to adapt to the change of who he is. You know, he's a leader. He comes in with a nice pedigree and stuff. Yeah, he's been on a lot of teams and stuff. But still, you're not going to change your demeanor. You're not going to change it because that's not who you are. And the Mets know that. So if it's his last go-around or whatever, so be it. But he's going to go in there and do what he's done in all the other organizations he's worked for. And that's win.
I mean, do you think it's a big deal that he's turned every organization around that he's been at? He's not won a World Series. I'll give him that. But there's some great managers out there who have not won World Series.
Well, the Dodgers haven't won a World Series in 3 decades, playing 162 games since 1988. So, you know, you can throw that thing out there too. I mean, yeah, they won a World Series playing 15 games, you know, in 2020. But, you know, you can look at organizations that way too. The Lions haven't done nothing in 60 years. And, you know, there's other teams across the board. Look at the New Orleans Pelicans, for Christ's sakes.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I think this is a good hire. I know that it may come up in my Are You Serious show with we lost Mark. Let's see if I can call him back. That wasn't me dropping him. See if we get him back.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, good. I've also got you on the Bluetooth correctly now too. By the way, before you left. So anyway, this may. I was starting to say this probably will come up as a topic in a future Are You Serious show, because I know that my co-host there had some very strong opinions about Buck not being the right guy here. So I think the Mets did a great job. Need discipline, need focus. And he's the perfect guy. They could not hire. Let me bring this point up to you too. Of the guys that were mentioned, they could not go the direction of a first-year guy who's never, with no managerial experience in the major leagues, with this team that they've put together that needs to win now, or it's just going to be a total disaster if they don't.
Well, not only that, Keith. When you look at a guy like that, he comes in, he's got a swag. You know, he's got a pedigree. You need this kind of guy to come into your town, try to compete with the Phillies, try to compete with the Braves here. This is what you need. You can't come in here with, a Mickey Mouse candidate. You got to get somebody that can turn it around. Part of the show on Thursday of last week was talking to the guys about, everybody can talk about Mike Trout being one of the best. I'll take Bryce Harper any day of the week over Mike Trout. Now, I might catch flack on that, but that's okay, because when I look at Bryce Harper, it's swag. It's playing the game like Pete Rose, all out. This is the kind of guy I need on my team, just like Buck Showalter. Now we're going to get all these guys from Jersey telling me, Mancini, you're crazy. Trout's better. No, I haven't seen it. He's been injured the last few years. Give me Bryce Harper.
I think Bryce Harper gets a bad rap myself, and I feel like that came up in our conversation last Friday on the show too. Bryce Harper's a great player, but he needs to be on a better team and be in a better position. Because guys like Bryce Harper and Mike Trout are not going to get their full due as a great players they are when their careers are over if they play for perennial losers like they have up until now. And it's up to their teams to help them get over the hump. Don't tell me Bryce Harper's a loser because he plays for the Phillies and Washington teams that choked every year.
Well, not only that, you can see the same thing with, coaches. And, I caught a lot of flack, back in Urban Meyer. I like Urban Meyer because when you look at college coaches that come into the pros, they've had problems going back to Tarkanian, Calipari, Patino, Saban, Meyer. These are kind of guys that couldn't turn these guys around in the pros. They went back to college, they can turn them around. But, look at the organization of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a loser. It starts from the top. They don't put money in this. This team hasn't done anything since, Brunell and Maurice Jones-Drew were running the ball back then. They had a little, thing in 2016, I believe, with Bortles and Fournette. But other than that, it's a losing franchise. So Urban Meyer is not the loser in Jacksonville. It's the guy that owns the team.
Well, Urban Meyer contributed to his own problems, though, with the nonsense with the co-ed, not traveling with the team, which is unheard of, by the way, for a coach not to fly home with his team after any game, outside of emergency situations.
I understand that. The thing is, close to, his restaurant, it was a bye week after that. And then the flack bite, having fun with the patrons. The lady that wasn't wearing a two-piece bikini, she had her clothes on. And that whole thing comes down to between him and his wife, what's going on.
He's a married guy with a co-ed in his lap. I don't care what she's wearing. I mean, come on.
That's hey, look, that's the thing there. Ever since that thing, it's been downhill. And, they ripped Meyer, but God rest his soul, Steve Howe was out here giving 9 different chances with drug problems.
Well, again, that was just after that happened with Meyer in Ohio. I mean, think it was a matter of time, and they kept looking for things. And then the stuff came out about the way he mistreated his coaches and kicked the kicker.
Yeah, he might have been in over his head in that situation, in Jacksonville. But I remember Saban basically told the Dolphins to shove the job. I'm going to Alabama. And you see what Nick Saban's done with the Crimson Tide.
I've said this 100 times, though, that if Nick Saban had been smart enough to take Drew Brees and not Dante Culpepper in free agency, the history of the NFL and college football might be totally different today. He may never have left.
Well, not only that, that's another downtrodden franchise. The Dolphins haven't done nothing since Dan Marino was there. Let's face it. I mean, they get in the playoffs. They can't win in under 30-degree weather. A few years ago, they went to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh handed them, back a one-way ticket to South Florida. So, I look at it like this, and I'll catch the flack on it, but I don't look at the coaches as much as I looked at the downtrodden franchises. And that should be a topic of ours down the line. Give me the top 10 worst franchises run even till today. And the Lions be on there, and the Dolphins would be on my top 10 list.
Yeah, I got
across the board in 4 major sports.
Yeah, I got to back up a second because I know you can't see the comments, but Kenny Gifford saying, rip Myers, but it's okay for owners and politicians. Kenny, no, it's not. I mean, maybe they get away with it, but I don't think it's okay for anybody, especially when you're in a leadership position, to conduct yourself the way Urban Meyer did. It's just inexcusable. And I don't care if it's a politician or what else did Kenny say it was? Owners. They should be held accountable as well. Because as Mark said, we were talking about the Mets, and we're talking about any organization. I guess I'm going to give a bad example if I say the Patriots that the organization and the culture is built from the top down. And the Patriots, I guess, is a bad example because Mike, owner, did end up in a massage parlor with a happy ending. So.
Well, I'll take it one step further. If you're an owner of a team and you buy one of these teams with billions of dollars or whatever it is, and you don't turn that team around in 5 years, you should be forced to sell it to a local investor. Listen, I feel bad for the people of Detroit that's going to watch that garbage each and every week for 60 years. I feel bad for the people in New Orleans watching the Pelicans. I feel bad for the people in Miami succumbing to watching the Dolphins. And the list can go on and on here. We can throw more teams into this mix here.
But you can't.
You know, the Orlando Magic is another one. And I got a good buddy that runs that team. So, I mean, these are teams that if you're not making money, sell a team to a local investor. But if this team is not a playoff team, and a perfect example is the Cleveland Cavaliers, Keith. Look at how they have a mixture of, veterans with those young guys. You don't use the word rebuild. They've taken it and they're competing. They got the fourth best record in the East. So, these other teams just don't know how to do it. The Minnesota Timberwolves, all these teams. That's what you got to really look at is these owners like the Jacksonville clown. He needs to sell a team to a local investor that's going to put the money in it to get this team running in the right direction. It's unfair to charge people to come and see that garbage each and every week.
Well, then those people should stay home, and that's how you get rid of the owners. You can't put in, league rules where if you don't win in 5 years, you got to sell your team. I mean, we'd have chaos in sports. How
about the
owners? Not better.
Right. How about the clown that took the Seattle Supersonics out of Seattle over all those years? They won that championship, I believe, in 78, 79. Yep. He carpetbags a team right out of there and moves it to Oklahoma.
That's a different
erases all that tradition.
But I don't disagree with that, but that's a different topic. Being able to move just up and move your team the way Robert Irsay moved the Colts in the middle of the night from Baltimore to Indianapolis. That stuff shouldn't happen. I'm just talking about teams that are staying put. You can't just make a mandate and say, if you don't succeed.
Well, you can't, but you can't stand there and tell your fan base after 60 years we're in a rebuilding mode like the Detroit Lions.
Well, then that's fine. I mean, but you can't. If you do that, then you put any kind of rules in place for that. Then the NFL actually owns and runs all of these NFL franchises. You can't have that.
Well, yeah, I don't know what the Ford family did with that team, but it's unbelievable to see what that downtrodden franchise is. And you're right, the people should stop going to these things. They did that when McCourt owned the Dodgers a few years back. They got tired of his act and they started not showing up. It was an empty stadium. It looked like Halloween every night. Might have looked like Pittsburgh, but they stopped going. And finally. They were given, half concessions and half merchandise and all this other stuff just to try to get a fan base back that had the second biggest market. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. The second biggest market couldn't even get people to come to the stadium.
Yeah, I get it. And some of these teams, they should not. There needs to be effort to make whatever sport we're talking about. There needs to be an effort for teams to be made better. That's part of my problem with revenue sharing, right? We give a bunch of money to teams in Kansas City and places, and they put it in their pocket and they don't make their teams any better.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's not the point of revenue sharing, which I don't like anyway.
If you got a bad team and you want to buy season tickets, you should be able to get a bunch of bags so nobody knows you're at the game.
Yeah, you should.
And look like the unknown comic.
Listen, staying on football for a second, what are your thoughts on this whole COVID situation? I have a little problem, as I said earlier in the show, that the NFL is being a little hypocritical in the way, and I understand they didn't foresee this circumstance, but because situations.
Yeah, here's my take on it, and I'll catch it on it too. But you know where my faith lies in the guy above, and that's where it only lies. But I will tell you this, if everybody got the shot here and everything, what seems to be the problem? Roger Goodell dropped the ball on this thing. Everybody should have been in a bubble. We've got, a Flyer Canadian game the other night, no fans. The next night there's a boxing match in Montreal and there's fans. So I can't figure this whole thing out. The Raider Cleveland game shut down. The Redskin Eagle game shut down. We got the Seahawks Rams game shut down. And then stupid Roger Goodell takes it one step further and has the Redskins Eagles the same time he has the Seahawks Rams on. So now we can't even get that game if we're not in that market. It's just absolute crazy, man. He just drops the ball again. And I thought he was going to be gone when that whole women's movement was going to move him out a few years ago with that Ray Rice thing, but they didn't get him. This guy needs to go. They need a new commissioner.
They do, because unless he's explaining how letting the air out of footballs really helps you win games, he's really not much of a commissioner. So I might be a little biased in that statement. But look, at my big problem with this whole topic is the fact that back in July, the NFL tried to flex their muscles and say, look, if you cause a game not to be able to be played, we're not postponing it, we're canceling it, and game checks will be lost. And revenue, the lost revenue will be made up by the teams that are causing the cancellations. And I understand that the situation, we couldn't have foreseen that we were going to have different variants and different this, but he's got no backup plan, as you mentioned, to the one he had in place. And what he put into place in July was only trying to force players to get vaccinated.
What makes this sports show great is we throw our opinions out there where the listeners want to hear it. They want to, some people are sugar-coated. We're not sugar-coated. We bring it to the forefront. This guy needs to go. He's not in the same avenue as Tagliabue was or anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of him. The whole Bountygate thing was a joke. And the way that thing was handled with the Patriots and stuff, it's just, it's crazy. And that's why Brady, the respect level I think Brady has for this guy is shot down too. I mean, he's just not a big thing. He makes money for the owners. That's why he's still hanging around here, but they need to show him the door. I mean, that's it. It's inept. He's just not that good. And I'll be the first guy to stand on a podium and say it to him.
Yeah. I think they've handled this very badly. And again, to portray it as player safety concerns is ridiculous. They're protecting their own interests and the money involved. That's what.
Well, exactly. And who's going to a Ram game on a Tuesday on a work day at 4:00 to watch that? I mean, that thing should have been moved to 7:00. Had the Redskin game at 4:00. People can watch some games, and they did it with the Cleveland game tomorrow, and then they put the garbage on. The Bears on. I don't know how these Bears. Somebody that it's going to be working the TV networks must be a big Bears fan. I was subject to the garbage last week watching the Bears and Packers. Now I got the Bears again on a Monday night. Kind of watch another rerun of Yellowstone.
I watched the new run at 8:00, and then I kind of switched to the football game for a while. But I don't watch it over and over again. You're watching it from till midnight, watching the same show over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's unbelievable. Watching the Bears each and every week. I mean, at least today we'll have some games. Maybe the Steelers can get on track. We got some great games come on Christmas with the Browns and Packers and the Colts and Cardinals. So but I felt for you yesterday, my brother. I really did. People can say whatever they want. Mac Jones had a tough game. They were just a little off. The Patriots, a little off. If they were, just off to the left a little or off to the right a little, that game would have been all New England. And they made a nice comeback. They just pick up their bootstraps. They come forward. New England's in great shape moving forward. Who cares if they're third right now? They might still get the number 1 seed.
No, as I said earlier in the show, it's a good learning lesson for them. Mac Jones played badly, made some of the worst decisions he's made all year, and he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make some, but the way he bounces back from them has always been something that I've loved about this kid. And he did it again last night. He got them in position to have a chance to tie the game late in the game, but some bad penalties hurt them. So I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. And let's not take anything away. The Colts have got a really good defense. I can't remember the kid's name now. 53, tremendous linebacker.
Well, not only that, they got a good grounded running back. Jonathan Taylor is a good. He's unbelievable. Yeah. That kid is, he keeps his, nose to the grindstone. This kid could be one of the best. He unbelievable. Passing Edgerrin James, and I loved Edgerrin James in Indianapolis, But this kid, man, I mean, that run just broke the Patriots back. That 67-yard run.
Darius Leonard. Thank you, Alan, for that. I could not come up with his name. There's some good players on that Colt team, and they'll be tough. And Carson Wentz didn't play a great game last night, but Carson Wentz has had a little bit of a rebirth here in Indianapolis. He's thrown 22 touchdowns and only, like 7 interceptions.
Colts are a tough team, man. They're going to be in the thick of things, and with the way this thing is going, and they've been saying, Mancini, take it easy on your Steelers. I said, I need Tomlin out of town. That's what I need. Tomlin, I need out of town. Then I'll take it easy on my Steelers.
I think your Steelers are better hope they fall into Pittman in the draft. I don't know how else they're going to.
I'll tell you one thing: if they go 2-2 and Baltimore and Cincinnati start losing, Pittsburgh can still win the division. As crazy as that may sound.
I got to tell you, they would get killed in a. Look at Big Ben was a great player. I have better movement around in the pocket than Ben Roethlisberger has these days.
I'll tell you one thing. Let me tell you. I think the problem in Pittsburgh is they're trying to have you look one way, but the real problem is the head coach there. Big Ben's had a tough year. We know that. This is his last year. So, and who knows? He'll probably go get a David Carr, or whatever in that organization to turn it. Maybe a Rodgers comes in there, but the real problem is Tomlin, and nobody in Pittsburgh is going to stand there and say this like me, but I will tell you this: Tomlin, they've tuned him out. He's lost the team, and he's lost the team for 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
You lay the facts down with this team. Going back to the Jacksonville, coming in there, beating them twice, and then Big Ben going down the second game of the year that year, and they only needed to win one game. Tennessee stole it. Last year, he looked the other way when he lost the last game against Cleveland, and he stood there and said, well, we got Cleveland at home in the playoffs. They railroaded him in the first quarter, put up like 30 points on him. This guy's not really – he's lost it, man. They don't get rid of coaches in Pittsburgh. He just needs to move on, get a new coach in there, get a new voice. That's what we need in Pittsburgh, a new voice.
Alan wants to know whether you prefer they replace Ben with a guy like Pickett or a veteran. I don't know which one he's thinking about, but there's a couple that'll be moving around like Rodgers and Wilson.
Yeah, Rodgers would be a good one. He fits that swagger at Pittsburgh. There's only been 2 quarterbacks in Pittsburgh that have been winners, and that's Bradshaw and Big Ben. I don't care what Neil O'Donnell did, and the people in Pittsburgh still think Neil O'Donnell was playing for Dallas when he kept throwing to Larry Brown. So we got the Bubby Bristers in there. We had the Charlie Batches, the Cordell Stewarts. Nobody replaces these 2 guys in Bradshaw and Roethlisberger. And give me the best coach in Pittsburgh history, Chuck Noll.
Well, if you could dig him up, you could put him back on the sideline and probably do just as well. So Oh, look at this, Tommy Maddox. We got a Tommy Maddox reference here. I don't think Tommy Maddox is coming out of. Just friend Tommy Maddox on Facebook. I'm going to try to get him on the show one day.
Tommy Maddox, Tommy Maddox. Wow.
Well, listen. Before we move on to our locks and don't be surprised ifs. What else is on Mark's mind this week in eating a hole in your stomach?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm waiting for the baseball to settle this thing. Looks like it's going to be a while. It looks like the players ain't backing down. The owners are going to have to sit there and figure out what's going on. And the other thing is the hockey, man. The hockey's been shut. They had 4 games postponed yesterday. It's going to be interesting. A couple teams can't play till after the Christmas break. That's an interesting thing. The other interesting thing is, Kyrie Irving coming back, but only playing road games. So
man, he's already in COVID protocol. Already in COVID protocol. I mean, you can't make this guy's life up. Jesus. Oh, my God, right?
What's wrong with the NBA today, man?
It's crazy, I'm telling you. Let's look at the games today, Mark. Give me your locks for the day.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. My lock going to be a real interesting one.
Hold on, Rick's sharpening his pencil. Go ahead.
Okay, I think the lock is San Francisco beats Atlanta. I think they know what's at stake. That's a lock, and Buffalo Club in Carolina's a lock.
Yeah. Okay, my locks would be I'll take Buffalo Club in Carolina as well. And I will also say that Tampa Bay handles New Orleans without a problem. That'll be a lock today, too. And don't be surprised if what happens today.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you know where I'm going. I would be a bit surprised if Pittsburgh beats Tennessee. Tennessee's a weird team to figure out. They'll get clubbed in New England, but they'll beat a Ram team without Derrick Henry. I don't know. I'm going, don't be surprised if the Steelers know what's at stake and they beat Tennessee and Pittsburgh. And also, don't be surprised if the Redskins know what's at stake and they go Tuesday into Philly and try to, solidify that, positioning for the playoffs. They go into Philly and beat Philly.
I like that.
They're going to hate me. They're going to hate me in Philly on Thursday.
I think that game's going to depend on Heineke's availability. I haven't heard about that yet. So here are my two. Don't be surprised if Cincinnati goes to Denver as an underdog and beats the Broncos to help solidify their playoff position, and also to go against one of your picks. Don't be surprised if Atlanta doesn't just cover in San Francisco, but also wins the game. I like Matty Ice in this game. And to hurt San Francisco's playoff chances and enhance Atlanta's. So,
yeah, Shanahan going against his former team.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting matchup, and I like Matty Ice here. The Falcons have gotten a little bit healthier. Another up and down team, but there's a lot of them, and the jockeying for position in both conferences for the last 2 or 3 playoff spots is going to be something to keep an eye on here these last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it really is. And, I think that Philly Eagle, Redskin game is going to be whoever loses that's going to be in trouble. If the Redskins win that game, they're still, who knows how far they can move up.
Yep.
And the Rams aren't solidified in that, 5th position because they got to, Seattle, and they got to go to Minnesota. They got the Ravens. Then they got to play a 49er team to close the year that's beat them 5 in a row. So good luck with the Rams.
Agreed. Listen, Mark, before we wrap it up, let me just let you know, we will not have a show next Sunday because of the Christmas holiday, and I've got commitments on Sunday morning. We're going to not have a live show next Sunday morning. If I do something, it'll be something very quick and probably before you're even out of bed to take your early morning whatever.
Well, and we'll be back on this Wednesday, I believe, right?
We'll be on Wednesday night for sure. Tell us where else we can find you this week, Mark.
Well, Thursday it'll be WWDB, Philadelphia, on the 860 AM dial. JP Hunstra, the baseball reporter, will be on there, along with mental health coach and everything. He's been spent a lot of time with different teams. Dr. Dave White.
Oh, cool.
So that should be a good one. And then back on the XM, doing a taping on Friday. Whatever Mancini picks, take the opposite. So world's worst handicapper.
That's what our guys are tuning in for every week. So I know that, so. Listen,
I made a lot of people a lot of money.
Well, thanks for joining me this morning.
I love you, brother. Say hi to the family. I love these listeners. The grind. Wait till 2022 comes. We're just gonna rip the airwaves even more.
All right. We'll see you on Wednesday, and then in a couple of Sundays. I'll see you Wednesday night, though.
Okay, my brother. Have a blessed one.
Have a great Sunday. Thanks to Mark Mancini from Mancini Media and all the places he just mentioned to you. So, listen, guys, Rick, I know Redskins are coming up a lot. This jar is overflowing with fines for that. Listen, guys, I had a lot of fun today. A lot of craziness going on in sports, but there's still sports going on, too. That's the good part of it. It's going to be a great week of NFL football. I got 2 different exit music things playing here. You guys have a great Sunday. I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll see you on Friday. But Sunday, we will not have a show. I'll post something just to remind you guys. Don't get nervous. You guys have a great Sunday. There's another one. You guys have a great Sunday. Hope your teams do well, unless I'm betting against them. See you later. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. You have a great Sunday.